All right, hello, good evening, and welcome back into my kitchen. Doing up a bunch of things tonight. We got some chicken, we got some mushrooms, we've got some turnips and carrots. Cook up a nice fall plate. It just so happens to be cold where I am. Normally it's not so cold, so it's even better. Let's start with our chicken because chicken takes kind of forever to cook, and we want to, eat dinner in an hour because I'm hungry. Got a huge stack of chicken. This is 6.5 pounds of chicken thighs. It was on sale and really cheap. And yeah. So I'm going to grab a sheet pan. We're going to put these all out. We're going to roast all of them. Obviously, this is a little more than I can eat in an evening. So most of these I'm going to cook. They're going to cool all throughout dinner. And then as they get cool enough to really handle, I'm going to pick all the meat off the bones. And I'm going to make chicken salad tomorrow-ish. And then grab some pita, and that'll be my leftovers. I've got my largest sheet pan for this because I need it. Cut this open. I'm not going to drop these or anything. I'm going to put them straight on the sheet pan. Again, I'm doing this because I don't need to make more dishes for myself. And go from there. There are, I think, 10 if I counted right. The only big thing I'm going to do with each of these is the skins are normally fairly loose on a chicken thigh. I am going to make sure they're spread back out and wrap over the top. It helps keep them a little moister. It also helps with then browning the skin. Reminder, this is not healthy for you, but boy does the skin taste really good. So, see what the devil on your shoulder wants to do. As I wrap these up and I kind of crunch them up, I'm making sure they're about the same thickness. That's important because it's going to help them cook evenly. And obviously I want them to cook at about the same pace. And if I have a slightly thinner one, I'm kind of putting it towards the middle. Give it a little bit of help I can. Throw out my wrapper, wash my hands. Turn that fan back on because I hate the smell of the oven. It sounds stupid, but just the smell it makes when you're preheating it. I am using some garlic and herb seasoning here. Be generous. 2 reasons to be generous. The obvious, flavor is good. The somewhat less obvious, remember a lot of it's going to stay on the skin. Things you didn't see right before I started. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees. These will take 40 to 50 minutes. Please, guys, make sure your chicken's fully cooked. Like, raw chicken is gross, and at least in the way you get it in most stores, is not particularly healthy for you. So, yeah, you know, make sure it's cooked. I'm going to put it in there. Again, I said 40. We're going to pull it out 40 minutes, see how done it is, make sure it's fully cooked. If it's not, keep it another 10 minutes in there. That's fine. Conveniently, my other two recipes take about 40 minutes. And all these people have fancy apps for their phone to tell them when stuff, you know, set like 7 timers at once, and I use the microwave. So our mushrooms, I got as a steal of a deal. We have gourmet mushroom blends, which is like a little bit of oyster mushroom mixed in with your portobellos. We're going to rinse both of these off. Combine this as 12 ounces. We're going to saute them. That's going to reduce down to like a half cup. Yeah, so I'm going to rinse these off. These theoretically are like pre-rinsed and washed, but I don't really trust them. And then we're going to throw them in the pan to saute and reduce the moisture. Things that people tell you is you don't want to add water to your mushrooms because it takes longer for them to saute. It's actually false. A little water on them improves heat transfer, so they actually saute faster. Gonna actually switch the camera because all the fun stuff is gonna happen on the stove for the next 10 minutes. Whatever, you can see. Move the microphone. All right, we're gonna turn the heat on. We're gonna turn it on fairly low to start. I'm gonna throw in a pinch of water. What we wanna do is we wanna get the mushrooms hot. A little liquid in the pan helps distribute heat better to more of the mushrooms, which then means they release their liquid faster, which then they shrink faster. It's science. So again, as I said before, you add a pinch of water to start. You don't need a lot. You want just a little tiny bit because, again, that's going to help your heat transfer, which is what you're looking for. You're not trying to, like, boil mushrooms. Hi, kitty. Can you see our fancy, fancy mushrooms? We have the shiitakes. We have the little oyster mushrooms. We have the plain, boring button mushrooms. We have many mushrooms. So again, we're giving these like probably 10 minutes or so to reduce down. I think the camera can see a little bit of the steam coming off. That's good. Steam is, well, water coming out of these mushrooms. We're going to take them all the way down until we basically fry them. By keeping the heat low, we're going to get more of the moisture out before I do it, because I almost want crispy mushroom chips, not just sauteed mushrooms. Then as we finish it up, we're going to pull out some red wine, a couple other things, and, saute them, finish them off. You want to put butter in it at the very end to glaze it. Well, importantly, in Left for Dwarves, are you winning? I ran off to my porch, but we're going to throw in a couple sprigs of thyme, because why not? Everyone likes thyme. Save a little bit more for the... Throw one on the floor. Fresh thyme is one of those really nice things to have, and it grows like a weed. It's very hard to kill. And I'm not really sure how well you can tell, but right now there's actually more liquid in the pan than we started with. That's good. That's it beginning to bloom out of our mushrooms. These smell really good. I really like mushrooms, so I want to eat them. So again, as I said before, our concept here is we're getting all the liquid out of the mushrooms. It's going to get into the pan. By nature of it simmering, it's going to evaporate and leave my apartment. That's going to leave us with a much more concentrated mushroom. At which point I'm going to deglaze the pan with a little bit. I think I'm going to use red wine. I could use white. I might use white. The white's open. One or the other. And then a little butter at the very end. That butter at the end is what gives them that really shiny appearance we're looking for. Also, I'm going to let them brown just a pinch at the end, get them a little crispy, because I like crispy things. Our volume of mushrooms has continued to shrink. There was like 2 layers in the container in my pan, and now there's like 1 barely. As of right now, there's literally nothing but mushrooms in here. I'm gonna throw a pinch of salt in, but like that's it. And I'm gonna throw salt in the form of soy sauce, which is like salt with a little extra flavor. And we're doing teaspoon-ish. Basically salt with extra steps. The salt, by waiting till there's a little bit of liquid in the pan, will even out across all my stuff. It will also assist in getting a little more liquid out of the mushrooms, which is good. Again, our goal here really is we want to reduce them as much as possible because it's going to reduce our flavors and make a more concentrated flavor. My hope is I'm going to take these, they're going to be crispy, and I'm going to put them on top of the chicken, and it's going to taste amazing. And as soon as these are done, we're going to start working on our turnips and carrots. I don't normally cook with turnips, but they had turnips and carrots for like $1.50 combined, so we're going to go with it. This is the part where, recipes sit there and say you can do this in 3 minutes, and you've seen this in real time. That's not how it works. Like, I don't understand where they're getting 3 minutes from. Just give these the time they need, and you can stir them without a problem. We're waiting till the very end, which is when we're going to, get them brown. But the concept is we want to get as much liquid out of them as we can. That liquid is basically just water, because water is what evaporates, and then there'll be more flavor in the pan. our liquid really has started to come back down. You know, at one point it had bubbled up almost over the top of our mushrooms. As they really released all that liquid, that's great. It's now most of the way back down. I'm going to push a little hole in the center and I'm going to drop a little garlic. Like many other times, I'm just using jarred garlic here. We'll call this a clove and a half. I'm going to kind of leave them towards the center of my pan for at least a couple seconds. That'll help them cook a little faster. Obviously, there's enough other steps left in this that, like, it's fine. They'll cook. Stir these around now. As you can see, our liquid is almost all gone. That's great. There's a lot fewer mushrooms in the pan than there were. I'm going to go grab the bottle of wine and open it. Probably should have done this like 2 minutes ago, but that's okay. Smells like wine. Stir my pan around here. They stick a pinch, they're getting a little brown, that's great. You can't really tell because it's a black pan, but there's a little bit of color on the bottom of the pan, that's the fond. We're going to I'm going to call it a 1/4 cup of red wine in, give it time to deglaze, and then I'm going to throw in some butter. And that'll finish the mushrooms. Stir this around. You don't want enough to like soak your mushrooms in red wine. Red wine marinated mushrooms are a thing. That's not what I'm making. Couple tablespoons of butter. We're going to use that butter to coat the mushrooms, and then as these finish up, let me pull out the sprigs of my thyme. If you'll notice, there's no leaves left on them. The leaves are all in the dish. And that's fine. That's where they should be. I'm also only making this for myself, so like I don't have to worry if I leave a sprig in and then realize it later. If you're doing this for like fancy company, you probably should count. I think I got them all. So we're gonna let these kind of glaze up. Hopefully you can tell they're starting to get a little shiny from our fat, our butter. I'm gonna let this get all the way up to a firm sizzle. A little more browning, the butter will also help with the browning. And then I'm just gonna turn the heat off. These are done. And again, by letting them kind of sit out for these few minutes while we do our turnip and carrots, they'll get a little crispier. And that's really what I want. Alright, our liquids are all basically gone. Our fat is covering our mushrooms, which as you can tell are nice and shiny now. There's obviously a little more water coming off. You can see the steam, and I'm confident that's steam and not smoke. We're going to grab one of them and try them. And they taste like proper mushrooms. So I'm going to shut the heat off. These are done. I'll check the temperature, like heat-wise, on them when I pull the chicken out and plate it. And if I need to put them on for another 30 seconds, I will. But otherwise, we're going to call them done. I'm going to switch the camera back so you can see all of these wonderful turnips. These are what's called Tokyo turnips. They're oftentimes used very similar to radishes. I'm going to wash them and these carrots. Again, as I said, I got these on super special, so they're not like new carrots. They're kind of old, so I wouldn't want to use them raw. They're a little flexible. But again, we're going to wash all of this. I'm going to just slice most of these turnips in half. They're kind of almost bite-sized, some of them in quarters. We're going to leave a little bit, in at least some cases, of the green on the end. Supposedly the green tastes good. The carrots, on the other hand, no green here. The green, being as old as it is kind of gross. So yeah, we're going to grab all these. I'm going to take off the piles of wrapping they have, and then we're going to rinse off all of our turnips. Got some nice rubber bands if I want to shoot them at somebody later. I'm going to throw all of my green, the real high green tops into a pile for the compost. And then our carrots, I'm actually going to cut the ends off before I wash them. These were apparently organically grown. As nice as it can be sometimes for them to leave the greens on the carrots, it distinctly makes them last a lot less time. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure I would do it. And obviously I wouldn't do it if I was trying to store these carrots on my own. Same thing with these greens. Wash these off. With how thin they are, I'm going to clean off the carrot. I'm going to then cut off the tip, and then we're going to slice them into bite-size-ish pieces and saute from there. Bring these all back. Pause, pour myself a glass of wine. Put it right there. It's right in between the two other cameras, so you can see it. Brush off the stuff I don't want in my dish. As I said before, what I'm going to do with these carrots is there is a kind of weird and at this point dehydrated end to them. Those are gone. I'm going to think about the size of my turnips, and I'm going to cut the rest of them into roughly similar pieces. Obviously, if you have much larger carrots, you're going to want to also peel them, or if they're, I should say, firm enough to peel, you should peel them. These ones are not at all. You know, cut them in half, quarters, whatever dimensions make a carrot that fits in your mouth. Okay. I am cheating. I do actually have a recipe today. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna grab these, throw these in the silver pan that I haven't used yet. We're gonna try and make one big layer. Our goal between the carrots and turnips is I don't have much more than a layer. Basically, what we want to do is we're going to throw a little bit of water in them so they start by steaming and then finish by sauteing. And if the layers are too large, you're going to have real problems getting them to saute. Because unlike mushrooms, turnips don't shrink. Some of these I would like to save the greens, but they're also kind of gross, and they're not really new turnips. So like, it is what it is. I'm hoping I can save a couple just because it'll look really nice when we put it on the plate. See how that goes. Half the leaves are just falling off as I pick them up. Or I can't figure out how to cut them on center. Any number of fun problems. Now obviously some of these I'm just cutting in half, the small ones. Some of these I'm doing quarters, the big ones. This is actually a type of turnip you can eat raw. I like a radish, which I didn't know when I bought them. I legitimately bought an unmarked bag labeled, I should say a bag that was just marked and labeled mushrooms and turnips, $2. So I took a chance. The mushrooms that were in that sauteed mushrooms, if I bought them full price, that was like $10 worth of mushrooms. These are expensive, I think. I don't know, I don't normally buy turnips. I especially don't buy fancy Japanese turnips. And that one has some weird color on the inside. We're calling that one bad. And as I said before, please think about the shape of your mouth when you cut these. Like, really, truly, you want bite size. Yes, these are special turnips, Kitty. These are Japanese turnips. I didn't know that they were special until I got them in the bag of random cheap produce and looked them up on the internet. We're gonna flip the camera. I'm gonna drink some wine. Drinking wine is very important. Well, that's good wine. I'm gonna drink a lot of wine tonight. So we're gonna start with just enough water. And again, if you notice, I'm working to make sure these are nice and flat. I want a solid layer. Because we don't want to add much water to the pan, because the more water we add, the more I have to saute off. I should say steam off at the end. But I want to make sure that we are, covering everything. I'm going to put in just enough. Because we need our vegetables to cook. You notice I'm using cold water and a cold pan so I don't burn my own fingers off. I'm apparently going to switch the burners because my one is not lighting. Not helpful. we're going to actually turn the heat up pretty darn high. Our goal here is we want to get this up to a boil quickly. These don't start cooking until they're up at a boil. I'm going to lightly tilt the lid just a pinch. Actually, I don't really have to. I've got a little tiny steam vent. Gonna look at my chicken. It says it's got 2 minutes left, but I think it probably needs another 10. So we're gonna let that keep going. We'll pull the chicken when this is done. Again, we're just steaming, boiling these just long enough to get them cooked. And then we're going to pull the lid off. It's going to begin to evaporate. We're going to add some salt, sugar, pepper, butter, glaze them down, let them brown up a little bit, and then we'll plate the whole thing. Yeah, Kitty, this entire meal and all of the rest of the chicken for all week was $10. I guess 15 because I'm using wine, and the wine was, I didn't buy the wine. The wine was work going like, you do good things for us. Have wine. We know you like alcohol. Look, alcohol is really expensive. Like, it is not cheap. And I'm not even talking about the really expensive alcohol, because that's like super expensive. Oh, and I got, as part of my $10, I got a snack for later. I got these fancy little pomegranate things. They taste really good on salad and in my mouth. But I'm going to put those away before I eat them 10 minutes before dinner. So you can see, even just a couple minutes in, we're starting to steam up in the pan. That's good. I want to get these boiling as fast as possible. Unlike the saute where I wanted a little bit of time for that to all happen, this is just straight cook me. So that was our first 40 on the chicken. It's starting to get there, but it's distinctly not there yet. I'm going to put the timer in for another 15 minutes. Unlike a chicken breast, a chicken thigh is much harder to overcook. The other things we're going to add to this pan as these cook, and I'll put about 4 minutes into the boiling, I'm going to throw in some brown sugar because sugar makes everything better. Salt, black pepper, I guess normal things. I'll call them normal. And then our brown sugar will dissolve into the water, which will help evenly coat across all the vegetables. And then as the water is completely evaporated, that'll help turn it into a glaze, and then it'll brown very nicely on the bottom of the pan. Going to use roughly a tablespoon of brown sugar. So you can see we're up to a nice simmer. I'm going to continue to let this just kind of go with the lid off here. None of our vegetables are delicate. And then as our water begins to evaporate, as you'll kind of start to notice here, throw in a little salt and butter, and then as it finishes up, that's when it'll all glaze everything together very nicely. You can see we are obviously up to a solid simmer. Again, one of your goals is you want to make sure the vegetables are cooked. Obviously, Tokyo turnips you can eat raw, so like you don't have to cook this. But like I like my vegetables cooked. I'm just weird like that. And there was a cup and a quarter-ish of water that I put in here, so that's 5 to 10 minutes to boil off. You don't need to. You want as wide of a pot that you can get for this because water evaporates off the surface, so the larger your surface, the shallower the water is, the better off you are. This is obviously the exact opposite of if you're trying to boil things like a pasta pot, which is very narrow and tall, because then less evaporates. Well, I mean, I know you're watching the stream. You need to know how these turnips end up. I mean, they look like turnips and carrots, and there's sugar. It's highly suspenseful. You don't know, am I going to ruin the dish? Would you even know if I ruined the dish? I don't know. I'm going to put a little black pepper on top so I don't forget later. I do this, then wonder why my black pepper grinder doesn't work well. A solid pinch. Actually, I'm going to do 2 solid pinches of salt. Our water, as you can see, is already significantly less up the vegetables. That's good. I'm actually gonna, you know what, I'm gonna add another tablespoon of brown sugar. I think it needs a pinch more. We're almost at Thanksgiving here in the US, and I guess we'll call this prep for making candied sweet potatoes, which are a very important side dish at Thanksgiving. Chicken is getting much closer. I can really smell the chicken now, which is good. You can kind of hear the noise changing of the water. As it gets a little lower in the pan, it's no longer boiling over all of the turnips. It's boiling inside of them, so you get more disruption in the pan. I'm going to say we're probably a cup to go. I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of butter. That butter is going to nicely melt, and then as the last of our liquid goes away, it will help glaze my vegetables. I'm going to pour myself another glass of wine while this happens, because you know wine's very important in life. Just want these to finish. I'm so hungry. But I know that every minute I wait is 1 minute closer to perfection. And there's distinctly a lot less liquid in the pan. Like, I get it. But, like, my God. Physics, why can't you go faster? Okay, there's really not much left liquid now. Let's take a fork. Make sure you didn't screw this up. Okay, carrot is nicely cooked. Oops. Tastes like carrot. It's very important. Again, give this 1 more minute as these continue to evaporate all the liquid. I can actually move my mushrooms out of the way here in just a few. And then we're going to put up our chicken, because the chicken is also pretty close. We're probably going to give the chicken until the very end, because I like my chicken cooked. Yeah, there's really very little liquid left in this pan. And then it's the hard part, because then I gotta really stir this up, because I want to make sure that I get the butter and the brown sugar on everything. Wait, have I really been doing this for an hour? Holy crap. No wonder why I'm hungry. Also, it's so humid in my apartment from boiling off all the liquid between the mushrooms and the carrots and turnips here that my windows are actually fogging up. There's now very little in the pan, which is great. That means as I start to stir the stuff around, you're going to see it starting to get a little shinier. That's, you know, glazing happening in real time. That's both our brown sugar and our butter working. And depending on how I feel as these finish up their last little bit of liquid, I'm probably going to throw a little more oil in the pan just because I want to make sure they're nice and shiny. And you know what? I'm going to pick blue for my plate color. And you can really see as we get down to that final step that I can just drag my wooden spoon across the bottom of the pan and the liquid doesn't immediately refill the space. That's because it's really starting to thicken up. It's great. This is really when it starts to coat everything. So this is when stirring is very important. I can really smell the brown sugar, which is awesome. I can also smell that this pan is going to be a mess afterwards because of the brown sugar. Okay. I'm going to leave these like this just for 60 seconds. I'm going to move my mushrooms out of the way. There we go. Stringy trails of brown sugar and flavor over the top. Wow, that's really hot. Give these just long enough for me to pull the chicken out. Going to turn off our heat. I'm going to move the microphone, flip the camera back. All right, Kitty, this is where you want to watch because we're going to put it together on the plate now. We've got our wonderful carrots and turnips. I'll put down a pair of crispy chicken thighs, and the top is crispy. And because you always need mushrooms on everything, we're going to put a couple mushrooms on top. All right. Let's move this forward. There you go. This is what you want. This is dinner. Well, you can have most of this. That is 2 thighs. It was 10 thighs was roughly 3.25 kilos. So that should tell you how big they were. But I'm going to run out real fast to the garden and grab some parsley because parsley makes everything look better. I'm going to quickly take a couple parsley leaves. Because it looks better with a little green on top. All right, that's where I'm going to leave you. I'll pick it up. This face the camera so you can look at this. I'm going to eat my dinner. So you all have a wonderful evening, and I am sure I will see you again soon, next Sunday, if not sooner. As always, I do this Sundays at 5:30 Eastern, whatever time that is for you. So have a wonderful evening.